Good morning. Please remain standing for the national anthem led by Osceola Davis Smith. She is accompanied by the Lehman Brass Ensemble under the direction of Armando Rodriguez of the college's music department.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light
Good morning, Lehman College. Please be seated. Thank you, Osceola, for your beautiful rendition of our country's national anthem. Let us also thank the Lehman Brass Ensemble, led by Armando Rodriguez, for their inspirational opening of Convocation 2016. President Cruz, distinguished guests, students, faculty, staff, and administration, welcome to Convocation, the traditional opening of the academic year. I'm Nikki Fain, Interim Provost and Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs. Let me introduce the senior administrators and our academic deans. As I call their names, I ask each to stand and remain standing. Please hold your applause until all have been introduced. Ronald M. Bergman, Vice President for Information Technology and Chief Information Officer. Vincent Clark, Vice President for Administration and Finance. Mario Della Pina, Vice President for Institutional Advancement. José Magdaleno, Vice President for Student Affairs. Dr. Milton Santiago, Interim Vice President for Workforce Development and Continuing Education. Dr. Renee Sarmiento, Vice President for Enrollment Management and Associate Provost. Dr. Deirdre Pettipies, Dean of Arts and Humanities. Dr. Deborah Shanley, Interim Dean of Education. Dr. Gautam Sen, Dean of Natural and Social Sciences, and Dr. William Latimer, Dean of Health Sciences, Human Services, and Nursing. John Holloway, Dean of Students. Turn around. I would also like to take a moment to recognize one very important guest who is new to our college, Dr. Rima Brucey, President Cruz's wife, a cultural anthropologist, writer, and advocate for equitable educational policies and practices. Let us also recognize our Grand Marshal and my dear friend, Professor Ann Rothstein of the Department of Early Childhood and Childhood Education. Deputy Grand Marshal Professor Fred D. Phelps of the Department of Psychology. And today's faculty marshals, Professor Cassandra Dobson, Department of Nursing, and Professor Olivia Moy from the English Department. And representing our fantastic student body, Mr. Genshin Muhajari. Okay. President and Chief Executive Officer of the Lehman College Student Government Association. How about a round of applause? Welcome all of you on this very special day. As you know, this is the official start of the academic year, but this year's convocation is, of course, unique. It is a historic day in the annals of Lehman College. Last year was indeed a transformative year for Lehman College, and I can promise you that the academic year of 2016-2017 will be no different. This year, I'm proud to join all of you in welcoming our new president, Dr. José Luis Cruz. If you haven't had a chance to meet President Cruz yet, I assure you that you will today. But first, I'd like to ask you to turn your attention to the screen behind me as we take a brief look back at the events of the last year.
Students, faculty, administrators, staff, alumni, friends, Dr. Brucey, the love of my life, colleagues all, it's my distinct privilege to be here today inside this lovely theater, within the beautiful grounds of the most important, mission-critical, senior college of the world's premier public urban university. Or maybe all I want to say is that I'm really happy to be here with you today and to be here at Lehman College of the City University of New York. My journey to this stage has been a most improbable one that could have very well been derailed by many events in my life, in my past, including one that transpired in a small modular, first-grade classroom somewhere in the central Florida of the 1970s. I was on my way to school approximately 2 weeks into the fall term. But I was beginning to suspect that my cover had been blown, that my attempts to cloak myself in the invisibility of stillness and quietness had failed, that the kids and the adults in the school surely knew, they had to know, that I did not speak or understand English. I was halfway to school when suspicion turned into panic. I turned my bike around, returned home, and told my mother, in no uncertain terms, that I would never, never, ever, nunca, 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 go to school again. Now, my tearful arguments got me nowhere. My mother was adamant that I had to return to school right away. But I'll be late, I countered. Pues nada, mijo. Le dices a la maestra que estabas enfermo por la mañana. I was sick in the morning, that's all you have to say. So I repeated my mother's words in my head as I pedaled back to school. I was sick in the morning, I was sick in the morning, I was sick in the morning, I was sick in the morning. I got to school, I parked my bike, I filled myself with courage, walked into the classroom, and blurted out what I later learned sounded like I was a chicken in the morning. So the room erupted into laughter, just as it did now. And the courage drained from my body. And just as I was beginning to hate myself for taking my mother's advice, my teacher walked over to me, hugged me tight, and said, "Yo ayudo tú. I'll help you." With her broken Spanish, she quieted the laughter that fueled my self-doubt. Rarely a year goes by without my mother and I sharing a good life about the day that I was a chicken in the morning. It's become one of those family stories that is embellished every time it's retold. But has a core so powerful, it remains worth retelling. To this day, I am of the mind that my teacher's sharp focus and open heart helped shape the trajectory of my life. A life that has benefited from and been dedicated to the ideal promulgated by Horace Mann that education, beyond all other devices of human origin, is the great equalizer of the conditions of men, the balance wheel of the social machinery. It's been 3 months and 15 days since the CUNY Board of Trustees officially appointed me as the 3rd president of Lehman College. At the time, I told them that I was humbled by the level of responsibility they had entrusted to me, that I was energized by the opportunity they had given me to advance the important mission of the City University of New York, and that I was confident that in the years to come, Lehman College would increase its impact, expand its reach, and meet its full potential as an engine of opportunity, as a vehicle of upward mobility, as a driver of transformative change. I've learned much since then, from the documented historical record of our college and our borough, from the many formal and informal conversations I've had with many of you, and from the 62 pages, 182 responses that I received to the survey I sent out asking for ideas for Convocation. Very candid comments, I must say. But thoughtful, so I thank you for that. I've learned through that process that there are many things that you admire about Lehman. You admire the sense of community that exists among students, faculty, and staff. You admire the sense of connectedness that links Lehman to the people and places it serves. And you admire the sense of purpose that sustains the college's aspirations to move forward. I've learned that there are many things that make you proud about Lehman. You are proud of the direct and indirect impact that the college has had on hundreds of thousands of lives. You are proud of the contributions that Lehman's academic programs, its centers, and its institutes have made to advance the tenets of social justice. You are proud of the achievements in teaching, research, and community engagement that have established Lehman as the intellectual, economic, and cultural center of the great borough of the Bronx. Above all, I've learned that one thing you are not is complacent. The Bronx is experiencing a renaissance, but you recognize that there is still much to be done before we meet our full potential as agents of change and stewards of place. And I'm so gratified to know that you will not rest until Lehman College does even more to help eradicate the health, educational, and economic inequalities that, as is the case for many urban communities across our nation, persist to this day in the Bronx. Today, as we convene for this first convocation of our third presidency, I find that the feelings I had when I was first appointed president have evolved. My sense of humility has been enriched by a sense of pride. My energy levels have been biased for urgent action, and my confidence in advancing the future is now a conviction for bettering the present. Now, do not be concerned that I've let the pomp and circumstance of this moment cloud my judgment about the harsh realities of the conditions in which we operate. I will be the first to admit that I've long been enamored with the rhythms and rituals that shape academic life and recognize that I am particularly smitten by Convocation's role as a precursor to commencement. I am, however, fully aware of the formidable challenges we face in bridging the gap that separates our current state of affairs from our professed aspirations. I know that we must expand access, improve the quality of our academic programs, increase graduation rates, narrow achievement gaps, and reduce the time it takes for our students to graduate. I know that we must push the frontiers of knowledge, better serve our community, and produce more civic-minded and workforce-ready graduates in the areas that our region, our state, and our nation need most. And I know that we must do it all while keeping costs low for our city and state and affordable for our students and their families. Yet, I feel bullish about our ability to succeed. Why? Because I know that deep down inside, none of us is faced by these challenges, but rather that all of us celebrate the fact that they are ours to face. Of course, our ability to succeed will require more than just rolling up our sleeves. To reach our full potential, we will do what my first grade teacher did. We will sharpen our focus and we will open our hearts. And just as our namesake, Herbert H. Lehman, refused to compromise with his conscience, we will refuse to compromise with our mission. The good news is that we have done all of this before, time and time again. Just ask Mr. Johnny Wiggins, who works in our mailroom and has served our college for 48 years. Let's give him a round of applause. He has dedicated his life to this great institution. And he will tell you vivid stories of the turbulent waters that our college has successfully navigated since its founding. We've been through a lot, he shared with me recently at a gathering of our longest-serving employees. But, he continued, we just keep moving on, we just keep getting stronger. The strength of our collective efforts was in full display in the video that preceded my remarks here today. The excellence and drive of our students, faculty, and staff in the year that was bodes well for the year that will be. Indeed, I look forward to leading the Lehman College community in this new academic year and publicly commit to leading in a thoughtful, purposeful, and intentional manner. To this end, I've identified 6 high-level priorities for our work. First, we will work to clarify our vision, and we will seek to solidify our identity as the nation's ultimate urban serving institution. In the poignant words of Lehman professor Paula Loscoco, an urban serving institution whose reason for being is, simply put, its students, all of them, first year or transfer or graduate, Bronx-born or DACA or from Manhattan, Hawaii, or the Dominican Republic, just out of high school or returning from childcare or another career or ill health or life. An urban serving institution whose mission today, in a practical, if not official way, is, per Professor Loscoco's remarks, to open its doors to its students, to take them where they are at, Sikh or Macaulay, English speaking or not, stumbling or soaring, and to train them and ready them and to raise the bars of their skills and achievements and ambitions and confidence. That's the first thing we're going to do. Second, we will establish a robust structure to support the development of a middle-stage self-study report that will not only meet the standards of our institutional accrediting agency, but also serve us as a meaningful planning and visioning tool for the future. Third, we will strengthen our institutional effectiveness by pursuing the most promising recommendations presented in our Advancing the Vision report and by putting into action the most promising strategies identified in our most recent Achieving the Vision progress report. Fourth, we will ensure the health of Lehman's enrollments through the development and implementation of an innovative enrollment management plan. Fifth, we will redouble our efforts to increase graduation rates, narrow achievement gaps, improve the quality of learning, and reduce the amount of time it takes our students to graduate. And sixth, we will diversify our revenue streams by working with our alumni and friends to raise funds and build a culture of philanthropy, working with our elected officials to secure additional investments from the public sector, working with the public and private sector to establish mutually beneficial partnerships to address some of our most pressing needs, working with the campus community, with all of you, to identify opportunities to better align our organizational structure and budgeting practices with our institutional priorities. Clearly, the volume and complexity of the work ahead of us calls for the coherence of our actions and the intensification of our efforts. Therefore, I invite all of us to continue to contribute our time, talent, and energy to move the work forward. In doing so, We will build upon the solid foundation that you have worked so hard to create. We will continue to transform the lives of those we so admire. And we will inspire others across this country to take intentional action to better serve the millions of students who are coming of age in America today, but who, because of the color of their skin, the balance of their checking account, their place of origin, or the tenets of their faith, to date, have not been afforded the opportunities they need to meet their full potential. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to join this proud community of teachers, of scholars, of learners. Thank you for trusting me to lead our collective efforts into the future. Are we ready? Yes. Yes? Okay then. Let's roll up our sleeves, sharpen our focus, open our hearts, and get the job done. Thank you. Have a great 2016-2017 academic year. I look forward to working with you.
Pretty terrific, right? That wasn't in the script. During my time at Lehman, I have continually been impressed by the extraordinary dedication and hard work from staff. At this time of the year, we traditionally acknowledge their contribution to the college day in and day out to make Lehman College all that it is. This year, 3 staff members have earned the annual President's Award for outstanding contributions to the college. At this time, I ask Michael E. Sullivan to please step forward. Now, Michael is a native Bostonian, we won't hold that against him, who has called the Bronx home for over 36 years. And despite that, for whatever reason, he is still a dedicated Boston Red Sox fan. Michael co-founded the Herbert H. Lehman Center for Student Leadership Development in 2007 and has presented at NASPA, ACUI, and CUNY conferences. He is particularly interested in student leadership education, student engagement, and self-efficacy. He holds a Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy from Stonehill College and a master's degree in counselor education from Fordham University. Thank you, Michael, for your valuable service and contribution to Lehman College and your dedication to its students. At this time, I ask Elizabeth Mena to please step forward. Elizabeth, you brought your own fan club with you today. Elizabeth is a CUNY office assistant here at the Lehman College Leonard Leaf Library, where she supervises the Stacks department and has been doing so since 2008. As a former work-study student herself and a part-time employee before she was hired full-time, Elizabeth works directly with student workers, training them, supervising them, and helping them in their daily work to make the library an oasis of learning for all of the Lehman community. She knows firsthand of the library's contribution to the intellectual life of the college and of the value of student workers. She is also a proud Lehman alumna, graduating with a BS in Health Service Administration in 2013. Thank you, Elizabeth, for your commitment to Lehman College. At this time, I ask Samuel Gonzalez to please step forward. Samuel's pretty popular. Samuel Gonzalez first came to Lehman College as a freshman Sikh student in the summer of 1987. He came to Lehman to play baseball. Were you good? All right, good, okay. And to get a degree in education. He changed careers and graduated from the New York Police Academy in 1993. Having worked as a security guard at Einstein College, he learned that Lehman hired New York State peace officers, and shortly after came here to work. 8 years later, he was promoted to sergeant. He has now served the college for a total of 23 years and counting. Sergeant Gonzalez and another Lehman peace officer became the first two officers in New York City to get certified in ALICE training, which stands for Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, and Evacuate. He has to date instructed some 2,000 people both on and off campus for this essential emergency training. Thank you, Samuel, for your valuable service and contribution to Lehman College. At the beginning of each year, we welcome our new and returning students, and also our faculty who have a historical dedication to the success of our students. They teach, they advise, and they mentor them. They challenge them to think critically and creatively, and they work to make sure they succeed and achieve their dreams and goals. The annual Teacher of the Year Award honors that spirit of excellence and achievement, calling attention to faculty members who have demonstrated a particularly outstanding degree of commitment to the teaching profession. For 2016, the selection committee made up of students and previous recipients of the award chose Professor Marianne Baumschad. Dr. Baumschad resides in the Department of Biological Science. As the Lehman Teacher of the Year, will Professor Marianne Baumschad please step forward? Professor Bamshad teaches courses related to human anatomy and physiology and is a specialist in human brain and behavior. Professor Bamshad encourages her students to learn more in order to become professionals and have successful careers. She works as an undergraduate advisor, consulting students both in person and online, helping them to find a research experience, choose a right course, as well as a good program that fits their career goals. Professor Bamshad is actively involved in designing better modern courses in biology, especially for non-science majors, to make the biological sciences more interesting and to attract more students. She is a consummate professional who takes the college's mission to heart. Our congratulations to Professor Bamshad on being named Teacher of the Year. We now recognize an adjunct faculty member. Oops, I'm moving too quickly here.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to receive an award for something I love to do, teach. I started at Lehman in the late 90s as an anatomy and physiology lecturer. During that pre-Google era, I would go to class preoccupied with how to draw a heart or the kidneys on the blackboard so students could understand their functions. I still remember their polite smiles as they watched me create something that looked more like a work by Picasso than any organ in the body. Those smiles soon turned into bewildered looks as they watched me struggling to learn the newest technological gadgets. First came the smartboard in a smart classroom. Then it was the iPads, the iPhones, and the iClickers. I can only imagine their looks as I try on a Google Cardboard mask to experiment teaching in virtual reality. But it was through those struggles that I learned the hardest lesson of all, how to become not just an instructor, but also a guide that can teach students how to think independently and understand how to collaborate with their peers. I have learned that teaching is a craft that not only requires practice, but also evolves continuously. And as a teacher, I need to continually reinvent myself. Today, there is nothing more rewarding for me than to watch my students excitedly share their plans for creating their own TED Talk presentations, or to read their endless chats on social networks that are not about their social life, but about science. I am truly humbled by this award. It has re-energized me to pursue my passion for teaching and lifelong learning. The truth is, though, that I would not be standing here today had it not been for you, the students of Lehman College. As you start a new academic year at Lehman, remember that this is a place where resources abound to help you reach your potential. So I would like to conclude by thanking the award committee for selecting me as the Teacher of the Year award recipient. But most of all, I would like to thank all of you, Lehman students, and wish you the best of luck in your journey to complete your education at Lehman and pursue your passions. Thank you.
Here's an unscripted infomercial. If you want to see the quality of Dr. Bamshad's instructional design, you would be able to find her syllabus as an exemplar for all of us on the Provost Office website. So thank you. Thank you for all that you do. We now recognize an adjunct faculty member who has been chosen by a selection committee as Adjunct Teacher of the Year. Will G.D. Peters please step forward? G.D. Peters teaches in the English department. He grew up in New York and Maine and earned a BA in English literature from Binghamton University and a JD from University of Buffalo before opening his own practice in Manhattan. While working as a lawyer, he wrote fiction for 10 years before closing his practice to write full-time. In 2009, he graduated from the City College of New York with an MFA and has since taught at Lehman College, City College, Bard College, and Gotham's Writing Workshop. Since 2006, he has served as associate editor of Fiction magazine and has published his fiction in numerous literary journals. In addition to teaching, he is currently at work on a novel, a memoir, and a collection of stories. What do you do in your spare time? Our congratulations to G.D. Peters on being named Adjunct Teacher of the Year.
Thank you. I accept this award with great humility and would like to share it with my students, past and present, because my students have been teaching me how to do this for a long time. I used to go into the classroom with a plan for what I would teach my students. Nowadays, I go in wondering what they will teach me. Because if I come out of a classroom and I've learned something from my students, then maybe that was a good class. Sometimes my students don't teach me anything, except that I'm not always as good a teacher as I would like to be. But oftentimes they surprise me beyond my expectations. In a recent class on Shakespeare's Othello, we were discussing the characters Desdemona and Iago. And the students got to talking about the fact that these characters seem to be pulling at Othello from different directions. What might they be up to, I asked, and saw a lot of pondering faces. And then one student raised his hand and said, maybe they're battling for Othello's soul. I think one of the best messages I can bring to my students is that their opinion matters, and your opinion matters, and we welcome you to Lehman College, you new students, and I thank you.
I would like to introduce one final guest. Today, we are honored to have Maria Teresa Fernandez, better known as the poet Mariposa. She is an award-winning Puerto Rican poet, writer, educator, and activist, born and raised in the Bronx. Mariposa's work has been featured on the HBO Latino series Habla Ya, as well as BET and PBS. A graduate of New York University, Mariposa is a proud first-generation college graduate. Mariposa is an advocate of young people of color from under-resourced communities, obtaining college-bound opportunities and the value of a liberal arts education. She is the author of Born Bronxeña, poems on identity, love, and survival. Her poetry has been published in the Norton Anthology of Latino Literature, the Afro-Latin Reader, History and Culture of the United States, and Breaking Ground, Puerto Rican Women Writers in New York City, 1980 to 2012, and elsewhere. Please welcome Mariposa to Lehman College. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Lehman College, for having me. I want to thank and acknowledge Professor Paula Los Coco for recommending that I be a part of this program. I'd like to acknowledge President Cruz. Felicidades. This is a wonderful thing for Lehman College and for the Bronx to have you. And, any freshmen in the house? Welcome. I like to begin I always like to begin by honoring and acknowledging our ancestors. And so I'm dedicating this performance to my mom and her vision that had me and my twin sister be the first in our family to graduate from college. I'd like to acknowledge those of us who came before us, who paved the way, because none of us got to where we are alone. We stand on the shoulders of many, and there are many people coming behind us who are counting on us. So I also like to honor a tradition, a call and response tradition that goes back to the time of the African griot, and it's called a call and response. So this is especially for the freshmen, first generation college students, and those of you who are following non-traditional paths to higher learning, a path that may be a rocky road or more like a river, roaring rapids river. So this is the call and response. We persevere in the face of obstacles and challenges. Can you say that? We persevere in the face of obstacles and challenges. Okay, good. That was a good warm-up, but I'm going to ask you to say it one more time, okay? Because we're from the Bronx. We're Bronxites. If you were born in the Bronx, live in the Bronx, work in the Bronx, you're a Bronxite. So I'm going to just say it, and then you're going to say it again with me. We persevere in the face of obstacles and challenges. We persevere in the face of obstacles and challenges. Now is our time. Now is our time. Thank you. Give it up for yourselves. So I have a poem called Bronx Cicadas, and it's dedicated to my brother Al and his friends. And I invite you to participate. If you hear a line, if something strikes you, you can snap your fingers, you can participate and interact and be a participant in this poem, not a spectator. Bronx Cicadas. In the Bronx of my childhood, where we walked down the hill on 213th Street, past the big old oak tree on the corner, diagonal from the old abandoned Victorian house on Carpenter, creepy chip blue paint fading watercolor against the sky, where the scary German shepherd mutt in the alleyway behind the gated fence barked at us each and every time, downward to the boulevard, the block, where all the colors in the world lived, where the green leaves hung low and luscious, where our hearts were never heavy, where the river smelled of its own muddy water, where it sparkled green like the Bronx River does, especially on rainy days. Murky brown, lime green, foamy circles, reflections of blue sky, the universe between the river and the boulevard. That boulevard in our Bronx playland. Bronx Park Boulevard, park of many playgrounds, Rosewood and Shoelace Park, of the bocce courts where the old Italian men played wearing velvet brown fedoras, crispy white shirts, and brown pants held up by suspenders. Park of the cobblestone horseshoe that still stands, park of mystery morning dew on fresh grass, park of the under the Williams Bridge spooky echo, underpass that smelled of urine, where years ago before our time a farm stood, park of oak trees, weeping willows, and scent of pine, where we gathered fallen leaves and acorns in the fall, pine cones in the winter, and dandelion wishes all summer long, where we caught fireflies with cupped hands and scraped our knees, where we watched fireworks explode in the black sky on the 4th of July, where we had snowball fights and made snow angels in our own winter wonderlands, went sledding down the hill on 219th Street after being pulled for blocks by my big brother. My brother's park, where he hung out with his boys, where they broke night dreaming in the whispers of our river. On cold winter nights, under stars and bare trees, standing on wooden benches above the packed snow, done gathered all the dead Christmas trees for smoky boulevard bonfires, burning old wood where new trees were sure to grow. Dark winter nights soon to blossom into pink and white, dogwood, sunny spring sunrise with radiating glow, the constant river flow, and the humming sound of speeding cars on higher ground in tow on the Bronx River Parkway. Zoom! Summer again, sunny, hot, and hazy. Time for boom boxes with mixtapes in the park where the Boulevard Lions played touch football with their ripped jeans, curly froze, and long feathered hair flying in the wind, where we chased white buttercup butterflies and hung on the chain link fence as we marveled at the brothers playing basketball with their picked out froze, where we got pumped on the swings in the playground on 219, sailed on wooden sea sails, chipped yellow paint carved up fresh graffiti layups on concrete walls, climbed old school monkey bars, where we jumped rope, roller skated, ate rainbow Italian ices, ran wild through the sprinklers, and played hopscotch, where my brother taught us how to ride a bike, in the stomping grounds reveling of his youth, music of the boulevard, through the dog days of summer sunny rays, where the sound of a Bronx summer's day rattled long and loud like mysterious maracas in the trees. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Mariposa, for illuminating the amazing character that is the Bronx. Thank you, President Cruz, and thank you all for attending today. This concludes Convocation 2016. I hope you'll all join us in the faculty dining room for a reception. Please rise and remain standing until the academic recessional is finished.